Okay, so this is unlocked circuits 18EC42. We are speaking about the output stages and power amplifiers, and in particular, we are talking about the transformer coupled class A, B, class A, B, all these transformer coupled, and also the class C tuned amplifiers. So how they are different from the, might be in the case of a, class A amplifier, a common emitter or a common collector stage, and then the normal complementary symmetry push-pull amplifier of the class B type or class AB type, how it differs from the transformer coupled, that is what we'll see. And also when the class C are used and why we should use tune amplifier at that position is what we will just try to check that. So a transformer coupled common emitter class A amplifier looks like this. So at the emitter or the collector, we have the transformer with the proper turns ratio, which is known as A:1. That means it is a step down transformer. A:1 just uses that it's a step down transformer with a what you call primary to secondary transformer turns ratio equal to A:1. Okay. Then rest of the thing is a biasing circuit, R1, R2, and RE with a CE across it will be a biasing circuit. So under DC conditions, the biasing circuit is going to take over. That means we'll have RE, the what you call RE value will be there, and the impedance due to the input side of the transformer, which is just nothing but the inductance, will be equal to almost zero. Frequency is zero for DC. So the what you call resistance or impedance due to this will be very, very small. That will be only due to the leakage resistance of the transformer. So that leakage resistance plus of the transformer plus the RE will be the resistance within the output circuit. In the output circuit, what do you have? You have the VCE, you have the resistance of this, you have the resistance of this under the DC conditions, and you can neglect the resistance of the transformer and take only the resistance of RE, and RE also will be very small. And since RE is very small, the VCC by RE will be very, very large. Really speaking, it is VCC by the internal resistance of the primary side of the transformer plus RE during the DC condition. Okay, the total resistance of the internal resistance plus RE will be the DC resistance, and that should be divided by, or rather VCC should be divided by that resistance to get the value of the current. Now this value of RE is generally chosen very small, and also the internal resistance of the transformer is very small, and hence we see that the current flowing through this is very large, and hence we have the DC load line, which is something like this. The DC load line will be like this. So once the DC load line is like this, which just corresponds to the slope of -1 by RE, we are neglecting the internal resistance of the primary side of the transformer. Then the DC load line will be a straight line. Under the AC conditions, that means when we apply the signal at the input side, then there will be some frequency associated with it. Once there is some frequency, that frequency multiplied by the inductance will give us the uh, reactance, and that means the admittance, sorry, the impedance, and that impedance is the one which is going to decide the load line. So the AC load line will be decided by the impedance due to the RL, or might be whatever RL is reflected onto the input side. So when RL is at the output side and if the turns ratio is A:1, the resistance here we'll see when we calculate it, that will just correspond to the A squared into RL. A squared into RL. So that value of the resistance will be quite a large value, and hence we'll see that the DC load line will be, the AC load line will be this. Okay, and you can see that when the DC load line is there, then VCC is this point, VCC is this point, and VCEQ is this point. So both are same, both are equal to each other. VCC as well as VCEQ both are equal to each other, and this will be almost double of that VCC, so that will just correspond to -2 VCC at the VCE. And then you have here correspondingly the AC load line will correspond to on one side the minus the value of 2 VCC approximately, and on the current side it will be 2 ICQ over here for the AC load line. Whereas for the DC load line, it will be almost touching what is known as VCEQ is equal to VCC. Okay, and it will be almost a perpendicular line to whatever we have the line over here. Under that conditions, what will be the efficiencies? What we will try to find. So the figure just shows a common emitter amplifier with a transformer coupled load in the collector circuit. The DC and AC load lines we have just seen. And if you neglect any resistance in the transformer and assume that RE is very small, the quiescent collector emitter voltage, the collector to emitter voltage is almost equal to VCQ equal to VCC itself. So assuming an ideal transformer, the currents and voltage in the figure which is given for us are related by IL is equal to AIC. Because of the step down will reduce the voltage and increase the current by the equal amount, right? The step down transformer reduces the voltage and increases the current by equal amount. So where A is the primary to secondary turns ratio or simply the turns ratio. So dividing voltages by the current, will get RL is equal to V2 by IL. The RL is the output, load, and output load will be output voltage divided by output current, and that will be equal to output voltage will be equal to V1 by A. From here, output current will be equal to A into IC. IL is equal to A into IC. So on the whole, we'll get input voltage by input current multiplied by 1 by A square, and that will be RL dash divided by A square. So indirectly, RL dash will be equal to A squared RL. So same thing is being mentioned here. The load resistance RL is V2 by IL. We can define a transformed load resistance at the input side of the transformer. RL dash is the load resistance at the input side of the transformer. That's why I put a marker here to show that at the input side of the transformer, the transformed load resistance will be RL dash is equal to, either you can find from this or you can write these equations to get a value which is A squared into RL. So RL dash will be A squared into RL. A squared will be definitely, say, if A is equal to 5, then it will be 5 squared. That will be 25 times of the RL will be the reflected, transformed resistance on the input side. The turns ratio is designed to produce the maximum symmetrical swing in the output current and voltage, and therefore we'll have the RL dash is equal to 2 VCC by 2 IQ. This we have seen in the graph. If you just see that, on this side you have 2 VCC, on this side you have 2 ICQ. So if you divide one by the other, you are going to get the value of the, RL dash, right? And that is equal to VCC by ICQ. 2 will cancel, and we are left with the value VCC by ICQ, that is equal to A squared RL. The average power delivered to the load is equal to PL equal to half of VCC minus VCE sat into IQ. And generally VCE sat is much smaller than VCC, so we can neglect it, and that itself can be considered as the maximum value. So the maximum average power delivered to the load is equal to the maximum average power delivered to the primary of the ideal transformer, which will be PL max is equal to half of VCC into IQ, where VCC and ICQ are the maximum possible amplitudes of sinusoidal signal. So the PL will be the load. On one side, the PL, there won't be any power at all. On the, that will be 0 into VCC into ICQ. No current ICQ is there. And on the other side, you might have ICQ is equal to the maximum value of the collector current, and that will give us VCC ICQ. So average of that will just be half of the whole thing. Same thing is being mentioned here. It is just half of the whole thing. On one side 0, on another side VCC minus VC sat by ICQ. So the average of that will just give you half of it. So thus the PL max will be this value, and the average power supplied by the VCC PS is equal to VCC into ICQ. The supply is, so the voltage is VCC, the collector current which is coming out of that is ICQ. If you multiply both of them, we are going to get the power supplied by the power source. And the maximum possible efficiency is definitely, the PL divided by the PS. Neta is PL divided by PS. PL max divided by PS will be the neta max, and that will give us 50%. So this is, really speaking, this is the ideal case, but it will be a little lesser than this because of the sole reason that, there will always be some resistance RE, and there will always be some internal resistance of the transformer where some sort of power is dissipated. Now let us take an example here. A transformer coupled class A power amplifier supplies to an 80 ohms load. So RL is given as 80 ohms connected across the secondary. So connected across the secondary just means RL is equal to 80 ohms. Of a step down transformer having a turns ratio of 5:1, determine the maximum power output for the zero signal collector current of 120 milliamp. This is the question given in the model question paper. Hence I have taken that. So this will be the zero signal collector current IC. The turns ratio is 5:1 and A will be equal to 5. That is what it means. And we have seen the value of IL. IL will be equal to AIC. That means 5 into 120. 5 into 120 is going to give us the value which is equal to 600 milliamperes. That is equal to 0.6 amperes. And the load resistance value is 80 ohms. So therefore the total value of the maximum power which can be coming out at the output will just correspond to I squared R. So I squared will be 0.6 squared, that will be 0.36 into 80 ohms. Okay, whatever 0.36 into 80 ohms will be whatever voltage we get. Okay, so might be 48, 28.8. Okay, 28.8 watts will be the power at the output side. Okay, at the output side, we'll get 0.6 square into 80, that is 28.8 as the power at the output side. Then we'll come to the transformer coupled class B push-pull amplifier. So you can see at the input side as well as at the output side, we are trying to connect the transformer coupled. So it's a center tapped, transformer coupled, class B push-pull amplifier. So in this case, you can see that both the transistors being used are NPN as against in the complementary symmetry. In the complementary symmetry, we are using one NPN and one PNP. So this is better in that sense that there might not be the complementary symmetry transistors might not be exactly complementary to each other because of the device characteristic. This might be better, but however, there is always loss in the transformers, right? So because of the center tap nature, here you'll have the signal like this, and here you will have exactly the inversion of the above one, right? There will be 180 degrees phase shift between this and this. So therefore, this transistor operates in the positive half of the cycle. This transistor operates when this is positive. This is positive when the input is negative. When the input is positive, this will be positive. When the input is negative, this will be positive. So because both are NPN transistors, you can say that when this is positive, the Q1 will be on. Q2 will be on during when this is positive. That just means that when the input is negative. So input positive, Q1 on, input negative, Q2 is on. That is how they are going to operate. Otherwise, the operation of the transformer coupled class B push-pull amplifier is just same as the complementary push-pull amplifier. So only that here we are having, because of the center tap transformer, the signal inversion at the input side itself will be having. So The operation is just the same, except that we are using here the two NPN transistors. There in the class B push-pull amplifier without transformer, we are using complementary transformers. So the input transformer converts the input signal to two out of phase signals for the transistor. This is what I just explained. The input transformer is center tapped secondary that is connected to ground, producing phase inversion of one side with respect to the other. So because of the signal inversion, Q1 will conduct in the positive part of the input cycle, Q2 will conduct in the negative part of the input cycle. When we talk about input, we are talking about totally the VI. VI is, or VS, which is there here. The output transformer combines the signal by permitting currents in both directions, even though one transistor is always cut off. The positive supply, power supply signal is connected to the center tap of the output transformer. So you can see that VCC is connected here, center tap of the output transformer. The equations and efficiency calculations are same as in case of complementary transistor class B push-pull amplifier. So we'll have to just write the same equations, no difference at all. To calculate this again is the problem which is given in the what we call model question paper, right? So he's asking us to find the what you call efficiency of the transformer coupled class B amplifier with a supply voltage 12 volts and peak output voltage of 6 volts. So this is 12 volts and this is 6 volts. So PS will be 12 volts into the value of ICQ. The what you call PL will be 6 volts into again the ICQ. Okay, so you just need to multiply them and that divide them. 6 ICQ divided by 12 ICQ is going to give us the value of efficiency, which will just turn out to be 50%. Okay, so it's just 6 ICQ divided by 12 ICQ. Now let us come to the transformer coupled class AB push-pull amplifier. Now what is it which is different here is the circuit over here. We are connecting a diode and the supply. So the diode is always on here because we are putting VCC, positive VCC. The diode is always on, and the diode will have across it, the on diode will have across it 0.7 volts. So in place of the diode and the resistance with VCC, you can always connect a small signal source, DC signal source of this type of 0.7 volts over here, so that it solves the same problem. So what does it do? The positive side of the 0.7 value is connected to the base. The negative is grounded, and the emitter is the one which is grounded here. This and this are both same. Ground and ground both are same. So that means this transistor is on. Again, in a similar way, 0.7 is connected to this, and again you have 0.7 here across the VBE of this. Here also VBE 0.7, here also VBE 0.7. So that means these transistors will be correspondingly on because of this, thus eliminating the crossover distortion. There is a crossover distortion in class B, which we already seen. And now because of the diode here are a small signal source of 0.7, both VBE and VBE of Q1 and Q2 both will be giving us the transistor on during the cycle in which it is supposed to operate. Okay, so that's the only job, and thus reducing the crossover distortion. So forward bias diode provides 0.7 volts across both the transistors, keeping them on in the respective cycle, thus eliminating crossover distortion. In place of the diode, a small DC voltage source of 0.7 volts can be connected to keep the transistors forward biased in the respective cycle. So either you use diode or you use a signal source of a DC voltage signal source of 0.7 volts. That will solve the problem. Okay. Now we come to the class C amplifiers. The class C amplifiers collector current IC of the transistor in a class C, we know that class C amplifiers operate at less than 180 degrees cycle. So less than 180 means generally of the order of 120 degrees or less of the input waveform. The result is that the collector current IC flows in a very short, narrow pulses, less than 120 degrees. Now, since the collector current is non-sinusoidal, you have very small, narrow pulses, which will be non-sinusoidal. It contains a, you can, by the what you call Fourier series, you can say that a non-sinusoidal signal can be broken down into the DC value and the fundamental frequency and its harmonics. So it contains a large number of harmonics. A non-sinusoidal periodic signal you'll get because very short bursts of narrow pulses you are going to get, and that definitely contains a lot of harmonic components, large number of harmonic components, and this harmonic components should be filtered out. So because of their high distortion, there is a lot of distortion here. Class C amplifiers are generally not used in audio circuitry where full reproduction of the input signal is required. We need full reproduction of the input signal in audio amplifiers. Hence, class C is never used. It's only the class AB which is generally used. So this is the, so to say, operating curve here, load line, and you have the input signal being given here. Only this part is getting reproduced like this. So this part will be only 120 degrees or less. And this is the circuit. Okay, we will reproduce the circuit again and show. So due to its heavy audio distortion, class A amplifiers are commonly used in high frequency sine wave oscillators and certain type of radio frequency RF is, so generally we'll write audio frequency as AF and radio frequency as RF amplifiers. This is large frequency over here when we talk about radio frequency, where the pulses of the current produced at the amplifier output can be converted to the complete sine wave of a particular frequency by use of LC resonant circuit in its collector circuit. So the class C amplifiers, however, can be used as tuned RF amplifiers. This we already discussed, where undesired harmonic frequencies can be filtered out. So we can just remove them, filter them out by passing only the fundamental frequency to the load. So we can put a tuned circuit. A tuned circuit, the RF tuned circuit will operate at, say, a fundamental frequency of FR, so that it will filter only that frequency. Or sometimes it is desirable to tune the LC tank circuit to the LC tank circuit, which is this over here. This is the LC tank or parallel resonant circuit. Okay, to a it might be desirable to tune the LC tank circuit to a harmonic multiple of the input frequency. So either fundamental frequency or harmonic frequency, depending upon the application, you can tune the LC tank. So the tuned LC circuit in a class C amplifier usually has high Q. So generally, LC circuit will have very high Q. That means it will reject all the other frequencies except the frequency to which it is tuned, so that only a very narrow band of frequency is amplified. So we see that the LC circuit will pass only the very narrow band of frequencies while removing all the other frequencies. So the class C amplifier are much more efficient than either class A or class B. Typically, class C amplifiers have an efficiency which is 90%. Okay, ideally speaking, 100%, but never so. It will be 90%. So this is the class C tuned RF power amplifier, whatever we have put earlier, same thing is being put here. So this is the class C RF amplifier, and you have the circuit there, and then the Cin and Rb. This Cin and Rb and the base emitter diode. The base emitter diode means this side form the negative clamper. So these two together with the base to emitter diode here form a clamper. This will operate as a clamper. So And also the V out is equal to 2 VCC. The graph of AV versus frequency is also seen later on. So this two together will act as a clamper. We'll see how the operation of clamper is. You might have studied in basic electronics also, but however, we'll see it now. So this will be the equivalent circuit which we will have, right? At the input side, this is the base emitter diode with this. So that acts as a clamper. And this is the tank circuit with the transistor being connected here and the output sinusoidal waveform which corresponds to 2 VCC to 0 volts. And this gives you the, really speaking, this should have been very, what you call high Q. High Q means it will be like this, frequency response at, very low frequencies and very high frequencies, the output will be nil and the output will be maximum at the center frequency. Output will be maximum at the center frequency, which will be the resonant frequency FR. Okay, generally we'll call this as a resonant frequency FR. Okay, so the what you call the resistor and the capacitor will act as a clamper. So 13.18a, that is what is the figure, shows a tuned class C amplifier. The input coupling capacitor and base resistor and base emitter junction form a negative clamper. That is what we have written, equivalent circuit for that. For whatever, this and the VB internal resistance of the transistor, base to emitter junction. The equivalent input circuit is shown in the V. During the initial positive half of the cycle of the input voltage, the input coupling capacitor Cin charges through the low resistance of base to emitter junction. So what it means is that when we have positive waveform at the input side here, this one, then at that time this transistor is on, and transistor is on means naturally you will have the what you call the input side of the transistor will be just equal to the value of R pi, which we have already seen, and R pi is quite a small value compared to RB, and hence we see that the capacitor will charge very fast through the small R pi value. Okay, C charges very fast through the small. As soon as it reaches the peak value, then it would have, the capacitor would have charged almost fully. Then once it starts reducing, it will start implementing the class, clamping operation. When the input starts reducing, at that time there is a voltage, lot of voltage across it. So some of those voltages will just correspond to some voltage across the transistor, so that the transistor will be cut off. So once it is cut off, the R pi will no more be applicable, because at that time the input impedance will become infinite for a cutoff transistor. So only RB will be there. So the capacitor has to discharge through RB. It cannot discharge through RB because RB also is large. Okay, so discharging will be very slow, charging will be very fast through the R pi. Charges through the low resistance of the base emitter junction, which is forward biased. The capacitor Cin charges to 0.8 volts with the polarity shown. The DC voltage to which the capacitor charges equals V in peak minus VB. VB is 0.8 and V in peak minus VB is the voltage value which is across the capacitor will be able to charge. So the negative polarity of the right plate of Cin will now reverse bias the emitter base junction. This is what I said. It will be reverse bias and turn off the emitter base junction of the transistor. So the capacitor Cin clamps or holds the DC base voltage at this value. Because of the clamping action, only the positive peak of the input signal drive the transistor Q1 into conduction. The RBC time constant, generally the RB base resistor time constant, which is there here for the circuit over here. So this is RB, RB into C in or C time constant will be time constant during the what you call discharge is made long with respect to the period of the input waveform to provide the proper clamping action. So as a general rule, we generally choose the RBC in to be much greater than 10T, where 10 is 1 by F, where 1 by F will just correspond to FR, 1 by FR rather, which is the resonant frequency. So it will be considered 10T so that the capacitor will not discharge during the rest of the period. So where T equals the period of the input waveform. The RBC time constant affects the conduction angle of the transistor. The RBC in, it should have been RBC in, all these are RBC in. Time constant affects the conduction angle of the transistor. The longer the RBC in time constant with respect to the period T, the shorter will be the conduction angle of the collector tank circuit consisting of L and C. And we can, what you call tune this to the same frequency as the input signal, or to some, harmonic. Multiple of the input frequency will just correspond to the harmonic. So it's up to us to tune to the fundamental frequency component of the input signal, or multiple of the input signal will just correspond to the harmonics. So every time the transistor is driven into conduction, the capacitor C in the tank circuit is recharged to the value of VCC. So when the transistor is cut off, the flywheel effect of the resonant tank circuit reproduces the full sine wave of the output voltage. So we'll get the FR is equal to 1 by 2 pi LC. So the figure 13.8C shows the peak-to-peak output voltage from the tuned class C amplifier. So we can see that the minimum is the value 0 and the maximum is 2 VCC in the figure. So here is the figure: 0 minimum, 2 VCC maximum. Therefore, the peak-to-peak voltage available at the output will be 2 VCC, because the tank voltage adds to the positive value of VCC during the positive alternation of the output voltage. Then D shows the graph of frequency versus voltage gain for this, the class C tuned amplifier. And at the resonant frequency of R, the impedance of the tuned LC circuit is maximum. So also the tank impedance, Z tank, is purely resistive. At the time of the resonant frequency, it will be purely resistive. When the frequency of the input voltage is above or below FR, the voltage gain AV is less, or either less, because of the impedance tank circuit decreases as the frequency of the input signal moves above or below FR. So that is what is shown in the figure over here. When the frequency either less or more, the AV value is going to reduce, and it will be maximum at the time when it is FR, only because of the Z tank. Z tank will be, very high there and very low at the different times. So figure 13.1D shows the graph of frequency versus voltage for the gain of this. So at resonant frequency, the impedance of the tuned LC circuit is maximum. At other times, it will be minimum.